Well, I think first of all, we recognize that satisfaction in relationships comes from someone else out there somewhere. Even when we go through the experience of falling in love, which we think is so common and so necessary for us in order to get a mate for our lives here. But think of the words that we use: falling in love, madly in love, head over heels in love. All of these things are totally ungrounded experiences. They're means that we're hallucinating. And our culture doesn't realize that we're using language that just disempowers us. If I'm falling in love or head over heels or in power, that's not a grounded place. And that means I think that love is outside me. That person, I have the attention on them, how that person will be loved for me. And yet what we're not seeing is that whatever I'm emanating attracts love or attracts the opposite. So whatever I'm thinking and feeling and experiencing and sending forth in the energy, I'm attracting. But if I head over heels in love and imagining, made up a whole system in my mind about how this person will be the ideal lover for me, I'm setting myself up for difficulty already. That's the cause of most marital arguments, because you're not living up to my expectations of what I think you should be right now for me. How you should talk, how you should touch me, how you should respond to me, and so on. We're putting all of our power in that partner. And that's why relationships fall apart and why they have more tension in them. Because we're not seeing, I'm the one who's creating my world with my thoughts. That's become more and more obvious. And the new science of quantum physics is verifying that. Even though the first part of that, there was a famous quote from the Buddha 2,600 years ago, with your thoughts you create your world. Somehow this guy had that wisdom way back there. And now in quantum physics we know that's verified in the science, that we create our worlds with our thoughts. We give our interpretations to everything that I do and everything my spouse is doing or saying. And I give my meaning to it. I describe a lot of that in this book, Mindful Loving, because what we need to do is to get beyond our old programming and our culture programming that promotes this falling and madly in love and all that sort of stuff. How can I be the true loving person that I am? And how can I let that become a habit pattern? Because if I'm learning to be loving to my partner and be that, then I'm going to be attracting that very strongly. If I'm giving forth more judgments and telling them what they should be or shouldn't be for me, or do this or not do that, all I'm doing is pushing them away. But most of us don't let ourselves see that. We think that my happiness depends on what the other person does or doesn't do, how they show their love or how they don't. And all that does is keep me separated from love. And may cause me to have more discord in that relationship itself. No, we don't have to stay stuck there. We all have our programming as children, had it in our families. We downloaded like what our parents were, how they were to each other, how they treated us, and we pass that on. And our mates do that too. But we don't have to blame ourselves or them. We can just see, is this programming I want to keep? Or is there different programming that will work better to have a loving, satisfying relationship? And now there are many very effective tools that we can use to create that kind of an outcome versus the kind that so many people just fall into through falling in love, or madly in love, or head over heels in love. That means I'm putting away my power and my strength and the recognition of what I'm attracting all the time and putting that power onto somebody else. And all that does is make me feel worse and make the other person feel worse. We don't have to stay stuck there. There are many tools and approaches that we can use to see how that got programmed in, and I can use these tools to press the delete button on that old programming that I don't want. And I can practice other ways of being that are pretty well established about what it's love that attracts love. And if I'm being love, I'm more likely to attract it. But if I've got blocks against it because that was my early programming, then the place for me to start is, how do I get rid of those blocks? And let me put that as a high priority for myself. Certainly if you'd like to learn more about these methods or these tools or the combinations of them and how they work, I'll be glad to talk with you about it. You could contact me by phone or by email, or you could call me and we can make an appointment or two and we could discuss it more in relation to your area, your issues, your problem areas, and what would be effective for you to do together. So I'd be happy to explore those things with you. I have people who want to come in person can see me in New York City or in Westport, Connecticut. Others may prefer to have session by Zoom or telephone or FaceTime or things like that. So that's possible too, especially during this coronavirus situation. So whatever works for you is I'm open to explore with you. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have about what this therapy is like.